Hey guys, this is Deeflash and we're back with another video. This week we're going to take a look at the vocoder and how we can use it on vocals to get that robot vocal type of sound. So to start out, we've got just a drum beat with a little bit of bass on it. And we've got a vocal. I vocode, you vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. And those fancy lyrics were provided to me by my friend Dave Richards. So you can thank him for the depth and the emotion that was put into that. And then we have, on our MIDI track, we have nothing yet, but we're going to use that in a little bit. So to start out, what we have to do is put vocoder on our vocals. And the way that vocoder works is you have a modulator and a carrier. Your modulator is the vocal part, or whatever you want to carry your sound, and the carrier is the actual excuse me, the actual sound form or wave form. So if you're thinking in the forms of a synthesizer, the modulator modulates or controls the amplitude, and the carrier is your waveform. So what we're going to do is we're going to play this vocal right now without changing anything. So that sounds pretty cool, but that's not exactly the sound we're looking for. So what that is, what it defaults to is a noise oscillator, and we can change that to our external oscillator, and then we can point it to any sound we want to. So what we're going to do is first we're going to put a analog on the MIDI track, and then we're going to point it to that. Okay, now our analog currently sounds like this. Now that works great if you just want that sound, but if we're going to sustain for that whole phrase, we need to actually raise the sustain. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play on the keyboard the analog track while playing this clip. So I've got the analog track armed, and you'll see the notes that I play. Alright, here we go. I vocode, you vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. I vocode, you vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. I vocode, you vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. Alright, so let's record that in. Here we go. I vocode, you vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. You vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. Alright. So now we're going to look back at the vocoder's parameters and see what each one does. Now what your unvoiced section does is it tries to bring back in some of the sounds that wouldn't have made a sound when you recorded it. So that would be your S's and your F's and things like that. They don't have any actual note data, so it's hard to generate an envelope around those. So if we bring that up, you'll hear the machine part, the CH part of machine gets a little accentuated once we bring this up. So we'll turn it off the first time through, and then we'll turn it up for the second time through. So you heard how much higher that was. Then what we have in the middle is our bandpass filter. So what we can do is we can actually adjust the levels of each band to accentuate or attenuate the different frequencies. And you can adjust the number of bands, but the more bands you have, the more CPU intensive it will be. And you can adjust your range so that you have a much slimmer band. And also you can adjust the width. So each band would get narrower as you do that. And then you can adjust the gate. Now the cool thing about the gate is it's per band. So what you do is, here, I'll play this again. And you see down here that these are pretty low. As we adjust this, you'll see that they only come in when it goes above 50 dB. And then you have an overall level that you can adjust, or lower. Then we have the depth. Now the depth adjusts how much of the amplitude envelope is applied versus the carrier. So and then you have your attack and release. Your attack is how soon the modulator affects the carrier. So as you raise this, you might not hear the first word or something like that, but it might give you the sound that you're looking for. And then your release is how long the envelope stays open. Then you have your formats, and that adjusts shifting the frequencies up or down. And then of course the dry wet knob, which will just switch you from the original sound to the vocoded sound. High vocode, U vocode, we all vocode, we are a machine. High vocode, U vocode. And then you can switch between a mono, stereo, or left to right. And both the sounds we're using right now are a mono, so you're not going to see the difference in that. And then you can also change your different modes. So you can have the modulator, which ends up being the carrier at the same time, so it's kind of a U vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. High vocode, U vocode, we all vocode, we are machine. Oh, and the one thing I didn't touch on was the enhance button. What that does is it actually enhances some of the highs of your signal and ends up bringing out some of that. And then pitch tracking works similar to the noise oscillator in that you have an oscillator built into the vocoder, and then it will actually track the pitch of the vocals that you're using and try to create a carrier similar to that.
I vocal, you vocal, we are vocal, we are machine.
Oh, I had the level boosted.
You vocal, we are vocal, we are machine. I vocal, you vocal, we are vocal, we are machine. I vocal.
So you see, you can come up with a lot of different ways to use the vocoder. Again, like I said, the most common and noticeable way is to use an external carrier like an analog and then just drive that with the analog. Okay, and there's one other way that we can use the vocoder. What we can do is we can actually use it on our drum beats. So what we can do is we can take this drum loop out, and we're just going to drag and drop it. So now we've got this drum beat here. Now what we can do is we can actually use that as a modulator. So what we'll do, we'll put this back to how we had it before. Okay. Now we're going to get another vocoder and put it on our drum beat. So right now it's driving the noise oscillator. What we'll do is we'll also use our analog. So you hear how it kind of works with the drum beat. So now if we bring this in, so there's a lot of different ways you can experiment with the vocoder to get a lot of different sounds. So please leave some comments and tips on how you like to use it, or some interesting ways that you've come up with using it. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I look forward to hearing what you have to suggest. And make sure you subscribe. Now that we've gone through all of the audio effects, we're going to dive into some of the Max for Live effects and see how we can use those to experiment and get different sounds. Alright, thanks for checking out this video, and I look forward to seeing your comments.